Okay, now this this is the kind of remake that I was totally expecting Inside to be. I was totally viciously, violently wrong. Because Inside, I actually thought was a decent and, while the same, different enough where it needed to be, remake of a very well done extreme foreign horror film. This is just as bad, almost just as bad, as Gus Van Sant's Psycho in 1998. And I only really count remakes from like 2003 to present, even though there were remakes before that. This is like this is in the likes of 2006's The Omen. As far as being carbon copy, as bad as 2005's The Fog, 2009's The Stepfather, I might even say this is worse, and certainly even less needed. That's 2016's Cabin Fever, which, why did that have to be remade? Honestly, I mean, I'll admit, I am a huge fan of this film. It's still my favorite Eli Roth film. Yes, I do enjoy Green Inferno. I even enjoyed Clown. I think his Hustle films are extremely overrated and very disappointing. But I still really like Cabin Fever. And I put Eli Roth in at Knock Knock, what had its moments. Eli Roth I put in a sort of the same class as someone like Rob Zombie. Someone who I believe is a lifelong horror fan. You can tell that he is. You watch his films, you can tell there's a horror fan behind the camera. You watch interviews, listen to him talk. You know, it sounds like he knows what he's talking about when it comes to horror films. He has a very vast knowledge of horror history, how horror films work. Yeah, I guess I do hear the douchebaggery that has been associated with Eli Roth. But, like Rob Zombie, I find his films to either just really be lacking something. Like, his films are always just right there. Always feels like he's trying just way too hard. Or, I think Zombie tries way too hard and Roth doesn't try hard enough in some ways. With pretty much all overrated films. But I do know Cabin Fever, Eli Roth's first film, is one people sort of either forget about or don't really care for. This is still my favorite one. It's I see it as like in a fair homage to like The Evil Dead, but with a skin-eating virus. I actually love this movie. I've always enjoyed Cabin Fever. Of course, it came out in 2002. 2002. We're now remaking films from the same century. Almost the same decade. Closer to one decade than two. And this movie, like, there are remakes that, okay, they'll have similar dialogue or a lot of the same lines. But this movie is so fucking Xeroxed that it literally sounds like they are just trying to get through it. I mean, this runs 98 minutes. This runs 92, but It made $39,000 at the box office. Fucking good. Has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Couldn't be happier. Directed by Travis Zarwini under the pseudonym of Travis Z. I imagine he's got to be a guy that like grew up with like Eli Roth and Rob Zombie, thinks they are just the ultimate horror gods, and he wanted to do his remake. You know, it's kind of hilarious that, you know, people have always said that remakes from the 80s are uncalled for, 70s are uncalled for. Same fucking century, 2002 to 2016. Originally, I do know this was going to be there's going to be a Cabin Fever 4, don't know why. It's going to be called Outbreak. It was going to be on a cruise ship, filmed back and back with Patient Zero, which Patient Zero was a bad movie. It had its gore moments, that's all it's worth. I liked it more than Cabin Fever 2. I hated Cabin Fever 2. I don't even own it anymore. And I guess Travis Z was able to shorten Roth's 134-page script down to 92. And that's literally what they used. That's why, you know, on the poster you get from producer Eli Roth, or written by Eli Roth and the guy for this movie, story by Eli Roth. His name is all over this fucking film, and he had nothing to do with it, other than the fact that they used so much of his shit. Written by Eli Roth and Randy Perlstein. Randy Perlstein should not be getting a paycheck for this, which I don't think anyone will. Oh my fucking god. This was hard to sit through. And of course, there are some changes, like maybe a character will be killed a different way. Deputy Winston is a female. She's still doing the whole party man thing, but she just doesn't have that bizarreness about her that makes her just seem kind of like that surreal quality. And I guess it was because Travis Z said there was no way for me to emulate Giuseppe Andrews' performance as Winston. Then don't make a carbon fucking copy. One of the biggest blunders in horror history is Gus Van Sant's Psycho. That's almost what this is. You have a horrible cast of Samuel Davis, Gage Golightly, which isn't Golightly the name of the Cinema Snob character in another Cinema Snob movie? Matthew Daddario, who I wanted to look up, he's the brother of actress Alexandra Daddario. Okay. Yeah, he plays the Jeff character, the blonde germaphobe from the original. And yeah, it opens up with the woods hermit with his dog. We see on the bowl, the dog's name is Pancakes. So right off the bat, it's like, okay, even stuff this movie doesn't use directly, it's still gonna put in other places. And then we get our awful, awful cast with all the same names. Karen, Paul, Jeff, Bert, was it Mara, Marla, whatever the other girl's name was. Marcy. Nadine Crocker was Marcy. She was like a store brand version of Megan Fox. That's all she was. And literally almost every fucking line. Like, for example, just like the whole part when they're trying to get Karen into the car or the truck after Bert fixes it. And Paul is like, you know, hey Bert, you don't look so hot. And he's like, yeah, I don't feel so hot either. But the longer we sit here and wait, the more she rots or whatever. These actors are not even acting. They're literally just saying their lines literally like someone is trying to copy them. Like, it doesn't sound like they're remembering it from a script. It's like they're remembering it from a fucking movie. Okay, Hills Have Eyes, yes. Alexander Aja's Hills Have Eyes, yes. First two acts, very, 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 very much the same film. Even down to the dialogue. But the whole third act makes that movie. This film has nothing to go off of. The only thing that I can see, or the only people that I can see liking this film would be that, yeah, I don't even think the people that like Rob Zombie's Halloween more than John Carpenter's, just because it's bloodier and more brutal and gets into the, I hate it when people say, gets into the mind of a killer. No, it fucking doesn't. It's a fucking movie. It's a slasher film. And it's the most generic how I became a serial killer story anyway. Like, and if that's your opinion, that's fine. That's me being an asshole. I can see that, you know, if you think that, I can see why you might think this, because there are some scenes that, one, may not be that effective, like the whole, what do they call it, like the finger bang misfire, I've heard it be called, when he thinks he's fingering Karen, then he pulls his hand out and it's all bloody, and he was fingering the inside of her thigh because it's being all eaten away. That scene has almost nothing to it. It literally, you almost could put this movie on fast forward. That's kind of what you would get. It's just that kind of effort. And this other thing, at least the original film, it had that atmosphere to it where, okay, you kind of have a sense of isolation. It is sort of a creepy, more or less unsettling, Evil Dead looking cabin. This looks like a giant ass fucking like resort cabin. And the gas station hillbillies was the even worse than our regular characters. Because you don't have the long-haired kid saying pancakes in this one. You do have a kid saying pancakes, but he literally just sits up. It's not trying to be intense or weird or like a what the fuck moment. He's literally, he wears like a paper plate mask of a bunny rabbit. So that's the bunny rabbit in the hospital. That's the reference. He like takes it up. He's like, pancakes, pancakes, pancakes. And he just runs up to the guy and bites his hand. Like, there's just no effort or substance or care. Or it's literally like someone, like this guy just wanted to make Cabin Fever. but didn't feel like it was bloody enough. Because I will say, okay, the scene, the famous shaving scene, yes, I will say was still much better done in this, because you have that moment of each, you know, pass with the razor gets worse and worse, and you can hear it, and it's like that build up. With her, it's literally just like, you know, she's just kind of shaving normally, looks at it, screams. They do add the fact that she's just like splashing around in the water, screaming, her skin's falling off, and then, you know, even like her nipples fall off. The bath water's completely black from blood. Almost as if to say, okay, let's get through what they did, and then we'll add our more bloody, brutal shit. Like the death, which, the one thing I will say that added a bit more of something was, I don't even remember if the Eli Roth stoner bass character was in this one, but the dog of Dr. Mambo, I don't even know if that's what they call him, is, no, he wasn't, because it's the hermit's dog, and the dog has the virus, and it's pretty much making him rabid. So I was like, okay, that adds a bit more of a threat than just a really mean dog, and I was like, okay, that kind of adds something. The death of Karen was wildly more intense than this. Like, I thought Eli Roth had a thing against friend zoning girls. Travis Z must have a whole fucking, you know, like, psychotic journal manifestos against friend zoning girls, because Karen's death in this film, yeah, the dog is eating her a little bit more. She looks more bloody than Karen in the original. Like, the original, she looked like her flesh was being eaten away. Whereas this one, it looks like she's more so falling apart. And she actually asked Paul to kill her. And, you know, the rifle won't work. So he grabs a shovel, like in the original, but instead of whacking her to death, he drives the shovel through there, cuts her all up. She's still alive. He doesn't know what to do, so he's gonna go leave. And he dumps gas on her and then burns her, and you just hear her screaming forever. And it's like, okay, so Karen's death, definitely more violent and fucked up. But literally, every small aspect, like when Paul wants to go find help, instead of carrying a bat and walking past a window of a naked woman and watching her, and the husband comes out and gives him shit, he walks by like a shitty, like one of those like round silver RVs, trailers. I don't even think it showed anyone inside. He just like peeked through a window for a second, and then this woman's like, "Hey, you, get off of my property. Like, you trying to look in on our love making." And then some tidy whitey, like, backwoods, a meth head looking guy comes out. Or, yeah, you have the pancakes scene. And the guy that played Bert, he was definitely phoning it in. And they all were, I would say, the only ones that really gave any kind of a moderate performance would have been Samuel Davis as Paul. I guess I could say Matthew Daddario as Jeff. But, I mean, Jeff, he died the same way, all with all the same lines. You know, like, instead of saying, you fucking fuckers, keep insisting on touching her, but, so you two can just sit there and fucking rot. You know, but not me, man. No fucking way, not me. And he doesn't have a handkerchief. He grabs his beer and he runs off. And when he comes back, he does the, I made it, I made it. But he's shot by Winston, who's a female. And yeah, she does the whole party man scene. It's like, oh, you're a regular party man, huh? Yeah, you're a party man. Doesn't have the deer scene, but Paul does stumble upon a campfire with Winston. And the scene happens so fast. It's literally like they're trying to rush through it just because. That's what this movie feels like. They're rushing through all this material just because it was in there, just for whatever little bits they add. Like, instead of Paul checking on the floating body in the reservoir and falling in, the hermit's still alive and they fight in the water and he drowns him. You even have the lady killing the pig and doing like the whole sick hog, can't eat this meat, bad meat. Finding out, oh, we burned Henry. You know, this movie has all that shit. Bert being chased by the gas station owners. Where the scene with Bert in this film where he's like, now, if you get sick, that's your problem. Dennis gets sick, that's my problem. I get sick, that's a big problem. Now, why don't we fix the problem? This guy is literally doing a cartoon character of a backwoods gas station guy. He's trying to do the whole, like, well, what we're going to have to do, like, just saying, like, well, now look, mister, if you're sick, that's your problem. If Dennis gets sick, that's my problem. Now look, now we're going to take care of the problem. Literally rushing through every fucking line. It's all this fucking movie does. The changing Winston from, you know, male to female, which, okay, he's worried about exacting the performance of Winston when literally everyone else in the film is shit. And they don't even really do anything with Winston. They don't add any, like, supers. Like, okay, when she gets the call saying there's, like, the bloodbath at the cabin, and Paul says, you're gonna go do that, and I'm gonna go find a doctor. And she says, okay, well, take this path, take it to the main road, and you'll find a doctor. But of course, he starts walking down it, and he just ends up right in the middle of the woods. And it shows in front of him is nothing but, like, mountains and nothing but woods. So she screwed him. And they don't burn the bodies at the end, like in this one. They actually zip them up and take them away. The gas station rednecks, they don't get their own deaths. They all just get shot at the same time. But the only thing that I could say that was worth watching was, okay, Karen's death. And that's about it. Everything else was just an incredibly, like, doing it because they were forced and didn't want to do it. Like, just that kind of sped up, like, okay, let's do it. Let's get to this line of this film so they can do. It felt like Travis Z just wanted to do the death of Karen in the worst, painful way, imaginable. And he had to get through this entire film to do that. That's why he rushed through everything. There's nothing to this fucking movie. There really isn't. It's one of the worst remakes I've ever seen. It is up there. easily worse than 2006's The Omen, as far as how similar it is and how bad of a movie it is. Absolutely nothing to this fucking film at all. Terrible. Like, this is what I thought Inside was going to be like. Inside looked like Dawn of the Dead or Evil Dead or Hills Have Eyes remakes compared to this shit. And yeah, I kept holding up this film for the whole review because this film doesn't even deserve to have its fucking cover held up. And I knew about this when it came out in 2016. It was at Redbox. I was gonna check it out. Couldn't bring myself to do it. It's sort of like Inside, which is on Hulu. This one's on Netflix. I kept seeing it. I was just like, well, that would be an easy rant. Be another remake. So, completely worthless fucking remake. Completely pointless. Literally, the only thing to take away from it is, okay, the dog also has the virus and Karen's death is way more intense. And okay, yeah, you do get the extended shaving scene. But that's it. And yeah, it's sort of, it almost feels like, I mean, Rob Zombie's Halloween isn't this bad, but, you know, it's sort of an exaggerated example of why I don't like Rob Zombie's Halloween. It's like, oh, let's just make it more bloody, more brutal, and we'll just get through the rest and do worse versions of everything else. Yeah, Cabin Fever 2016, completely fucking worthless, shitty-ass film. I was blown away by how exactly the same it was. But yeah, fuck this fucking movie.